How's it going, everybody? It's Eric, and I'm back here today to give you guys my top 5 heat of summer smallmouth baits. This is that time period. You're seeing this video here in early to mid-July. I'm talking about basically this applies to about first, second week of July through about the first, second week of September. 2 month stretch, time where a lot of people are out fishing due to nicer weather. We're talking low, clear water typically. So that's what we're talking about here. High visibility, you're talking sometimes in excess of 8-9 foot of visibility, really clear water. These are my top 5 favorite baits for those situations and for this time of the year. 75 to 80 degree water temperatures, sometimes higher, sometimes a little lower. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you've already subscribed and liked our videos, we appreciate that. And thank you for continuing to watch. Okay. So let's get into this list. But before we get into this list, let me start with an honorable mention. And this honorable mention, I'm pretty sure, has been on every smallmouth bait countdown I've done so far this year, but it's for good reason. And that's the tube jig. Yeah, you throw that on, either 1/8 ounce spinning or 1/4 to 3/8 ounce on bait casts, or maybe even heavier if you're fishing super deep lake. Works really well, either just dragging on the bottom, slow dragging when the fish are lethargic, or if you can get some active fish, just a simple crack, letting it fall down, crack it again. You get that reaction strike as well. That's all situational, but both methods work well. I'm typically throwing some type of green pumpkin variation, maybe some purple copper flake in there, or no flake, depending on the situation. Watermelon and smoked purple are also great colors around this time for tubes. So honorable mention on this list is the tube jig. Now, number 5 on this list is a bait I just did a video on recently, situations I throw it, and that is the Spook. The Spook really shines in the summer period. Like I said in that video, casting really far, on flats, working across covering water, as well as throwing at targets. Works really well for that. You can catch them on at midday, but really early morning, late evening is where it really shines for you. Can also get you some bigger bites than just the standard Zara puppy. The bullfrog pattern and the baby bass pattern are my 2 favorite mass produced, but I prefer the river minnow pattern. As you saw, if you saw that video, I showcased that in that. But Zara Spook for me is number 4, and for the Zara Spook real quick here, I'm typically throwing that on a 6-foot 8-inch medium moderate action rod, shorter rod to get that workout action well on it. I use my Dobbins Champion 684 CB for that. Works really well. Gear ratio of reel really doesn't matter too much because you're just reeling in slack, so I actually have that, and I just, because of how my reels line up this year, 8.1 to 1. But that's not too important. The length and action of the rod are more important here. So number 5 on the list, Zara Spook. Number 4 on the list, and this is a bait I don't think I've ever really talked about in depth yet on this channel yet, but here we go. And it's the Whopper Plopper. Whopper Plopper's been around for about 10 years now. Kind of blew up in the last 5 years, no pun intended. This bait, it excels even more than the Zara Spook at covering water. Just throwing that out and just reeling it across flats. I like a 6.7 to 1 gear ratio for the Whopper Plopper. I mostly throw the size 90. Just a slow, steady reel. Just enough to get that back turning. Still doesn't give the fish too much time to look at it, but gives them enough time to get it. I'm throwing that on, again, a medium moderate action rod, maybe a little more. You can kind of do a medium and get away with a medium heavy moderate. I throw it on a 7.3 Dobbins Champion XP 735 CB glass rod. Can really bomb it far with that. Works real well. Good setup. And my 2 favorite colors for the Whopper Plopper this time of the year are bone on overcast days, or if the water's a tiny bit stained. And then on sunny days, or if the water's crazy, crazy clear, monkey butt. So number 4 on my list is the Whopper Plopper. Number 3 on this list, I'll be honest with you, is a bait I haven't thrown in years. The reason for that is because in my area, we're really crayfish centric on the river here, and I know multiple people who have thrown it, and they struggle to catch a 2-pounder. And for tournament situations, that's something I'm looking for. However, lakes is a different story. I totally get that. Lakes, this bait is catching 5-6 pound smallies across the country, professionally, everything. So number 3 on my list is the drop shot. Anywhere from a quarter to a half ounce, depending on how deep you're fishing. You're usually fishing them pretty deep. Some type of minnow, some type of Berkeley hit worm, max set, something like that, and just catch some smallies in those deep waters, especially if you're in a more minnow or goby styled fishery. So even though I don't throw much, I acknowledge how good it is. Number 2 on this list is the drop shot. I'm sorry, number 3 on the list is drop shot. My mistake. Now, number 2 on this list is a bait that comes through for me every year. And if I made this list for largemouth, it would be on there too. But when I'm fishing a lot of shallow situations where the bite's slow and they're not really hitting top water, this is the direction I go. And that's the wacky rig. I've done videos on the wacky rig. I just did a video on my favorite hook for the wacky rig, rigging hacks, stuff like that. It's a bait I honestly hate throwing, but I have to throw it a lot because sometimes fish around here is tough with pressure we face. It's the one bait that the fish have seen a million times and they still bite the same every year, still fish really well. I keep it real simple with this. I throw either green pumpkin, cinnamon purple flake, and then sometimes I will mix in a watermelon orange laminate. I will mix that in clear water, believe it or not, very, very killer. After they've seen green pumpkin for a couple of months, and kind of, maybe got a little shy to that compared to, midsummer, that can work really well in that September time frame. So those are my 3 favorite colors for it. If it's a little more stained, I'll go to like a green pumpkin blue, something like that. And I'm throwing that on just basically your standard 7-foot medium light, medium action rod, depending on, how parabolic it is or isn't. I'm throwing it right now on a Dobbins Champion XP 703. I did a product review on that earlier this year. Little more tippy for a 703, but with that light wire hook of the owner wacky hook, works good, but loads up quick, good backbone. Really like it. I've caught fish on it already this year. Works really well. But wacky rig's something I have tied on all summer long in low clear water, which is typically our conditions. So number 2 on my list, the wacky rig. Now number 1 on this list, when you're talking tournaments and you're talking getting a bigger bite, and just getting bites in general, that's why this bait's here. But before I get into it, I just want to mention one bait I left off, and people might be wondering. There's no jig head minnow on this list, just because I'm not a forward-facing sonar fisherman. This list is more centric towards traditional bass fishing, either 2D sonar, no electronics. So that's why that's on the list. A number 1 on my list for number 1 dead of summer smallmouth baits is a football jig. A football jig is not only turned into one of my favorite ways to catch smallies, but it's probably my favorite way. I love it when I throw out there, cast out, reel down on my bait cast reel, and then all of a sudden my line's jumping. I can reel on the slack and just jack it. I love that even more than a topwater bite. I'll confess. I love a good jig bite. Love it, love it some more. I throw in quarter-ounce jigs probably 90-95% of the time. No weed guard. That costs you bites when they're biting it more subtly. But I'm throwing that on the Dobbins Champion XP 744 jig special rod. Absolutely perfect rod for jigs. Best jig rod under $300. I will argue that with anybody. I'm throwing that paired with an Abu Garcia Revo Rockets 10.1 to 1. And that's really important. You want at least an 8.1 to 1 reel throw in jigs in deep water, because a lot of times with smallmouth, they'll swim right at the boat. You got to catch them with that slack line. 10-pound fluorocarbon, that's a great setup for me. My favorite trailers for this time period are the Double Tail Grub Yamamoto, the Rage Crawl, and if it's a little more of a lethargic bite, something like a Chigger Crawl or a Express Crawl. Still a good bit of action, but not as much as those first 2. But when that water's mid to high 70s, those first 2 with that action, you get a lot of bites in the fall and stuff. So those are my top 5 dead of summer smallmouth baits. Did I miss any? Do you like my list? Drop a comment, tell me what you think. It's a fun time to get out there and catch some smallmouth in clear water. Go out there, wet a line, have a blast. And thanks for watching the video.